right, we got another episode of Between Mistakes. I'm joined here with Charles. My name is Robin. Today we're going to talk about what's going on, brother. Today we're going to talk about health and just kind of our overall fitness, health, well-being.
Better choices.
I don't want to make it like a eat this and drink this and this is a lifestyle. Just wanted to kind of pick your brain. I know you're pretty health focused, especially on the physical side, and I know you got a very strict diet because I know every time I invite you over, you tell me you can't eat this. And
I mean, yeah.
I kind of share similar ideologies, right? I'm very picky on what to eat. I mean, you are what you eat. So that's one part. And then also I wanted to discuss just kind of like your overall like health goals and your lifestyle. And I know a lot of people just think like just strictly food, but you got like what's your fitness looking like, just overall health, just kind of the topic of conversation today.
Well, I mean, a lot of people honestly, a lot of people don't necessarily think it's health. They think you got to go to the gym and that's where you need to be to start to lose weight. And in reality, you're right, it is the food, it is the kitchen. There's different levels. It's like a math problem. You can't just come up with an answer without a secondary number, without a process. And I think most people, they go to the gym and they get super discouraged because after a month of working out, which is the only part of their journey they've changed thus far, they're frustrated and they give up. And that's because they haven't really dived into the other options or really taken the time to get the education to know you need more than that. You know, everything starts in the kitchen. Food choices are everything. Yeah. I guess depending on where you are when you start your journey is how you kind of build a plan,
Yeah.
Like in other words, don't hire the trainer in the gym that looks like he needs a trainer because that's a clear sign. It's like a life coach who needs a life coach, you just don't want to do shit like that. So
yeah, I think a lot of people when it comes to the gym and expecting results, I would say that more important is your diet, right? Because you're not going to get the returns from the gym if your diet is shit, right? And so for me, my biggest takeaway is like, what are you putting into your body? Because if you're concerned about what your body looks like, your body is made up of what you consume. And, there's food and then there's also like chemicals and additives. I'm probably a little bit more of a biohacker or a little bit more kind of a weirdo when it comes to things I eat or I'm more conscious.
Right.
And I can dive into why I got to that point. But for me, it's not only food, but it's what kind of food. I'm not so much concerned about the caloric value and what substance it provides, protein. I look at it like the source, organics is very important to me, quality, and then whole foods, and then also a lot about like what you're drinking as well. And so for me, water is extremely important. So
absolutely,
I think a lot of people that are health conscious, they'll focus on food, but they'll completely ignore water, which is confusing to me because if you think about it, you can go about 2.5, 3 weeks without eating and still survive until you fall over and die. Yeah, you can go like 2 days without water, and then that's it. And so your body's 60% water,
right?
And so I would recommend if someone's just purely on a health perspective would evaluate what you're drinking, and then from that point, from a health perspective, go into food. Now, if you're looking for physical results, then I think, more or less what you're looking for is the food side and what you're getting out of the building blocks there.
And everything you said is valid. Again, there's levels to where you're starting from, right? If you're somebody who's really overweight, damn near obese, it's not necessarily cutting the amount of food you're eating. First, you want to cut out the foods that are processed, the soda. You need the fried foods. You got to start at a certain point and start whittling your way down to where you can really focus on now the quality of your workout plan. You know what I'm saying? 60%, of your body is fluid, right? Water. But again, if you're drinking soda, that's not the right fluid. And sometimes water is just It's not a sustainable idea for somebody who's just starting out. So you start looking for like sugar-free stuff, or stuff that doesn't have a bunch of chemicals in it. Soda is a killer, man. Like
Yeah.
if you're drinking soda, quit soda for 3 months and watch. You will literally lose anywhere from 10 to 15, 20 pounds. Again, depending on where you are in your fitness journey. Um, I'm a big person where it's like my wife's done a competition. She's very regimented with the exact amounts of carbs, fats, proteins, and stuff like that. Me, on the other hand, I kind of gauge on what I think is a normal size meal, as opposed to gorging myself, which I'm very capable of. I love food. I've worked in restaurants for 20 something years. I know what good food is, and still you have to have some type of discipline, you know? So I live more of a life that's based now at this point, and in my later 40s, is I have a healthy balance, which I think most people think you have to be neurotic about it, and that's not necessarily the truth.
No, not
You
at
just
all.
have to make better choices. You have to realize what real portions are, and you have to understand just the basic principles of what a carb is, what a fat is, and what protein does. And when you take the time to just educate yourself over those things, um, the journey starts without a lot of confusion, a lot of
Yeah.
disappointment, because you've set yourself up with a good general roadmap on how you're gonna carry through this next phase of your life. You know.
Yeah, you mentioned like, someone trying to dramatically lose weight if you're,
Hmm.
have, very if you're overweight or obese and you're trying to cut weight dramatically, like,
Hmm.
you're concerned about your medical situation, or even if you're just trying to slim down, I guess. I think the easiest, as you mentioned, is just cutting out sugar. I think that's kind of like the big thing. Is sugar with soda is just liquid sugar,
It's
realistically.
it's it's really
And,
fucking crazy
and
how the people my brother Danny, when we were younger, used to drink like a 2 liter of Coca-Cola
yeah.
every single day by himself.
Hey, have you noticed that the consumption of soda has also faded? I know when I grew up, everyone
Hmm.
was drinking soda. I didn't really think it was a big negative health. I knew it wasn't good for you. I know you
Hmm.
weren't supposed to wake up in the morning and drink soda, but I feel like everyone around me was drinking soda. Perhaps it was
Hmm.
my environment, perhaps it was the area I grew up in, Virginia. But I notice now, not so many people are drinking soda as heavily as they once
Hmm.
were. It's almost like, how when you grew up, everyone was smoking cigarettes. You'd go to the bar,
Yeah.
80, 90% of people were smoking cigarettes. And now it's like, now you might find one out of 100 people in a crowd smoking.
Hmm.
And I feel the same about sodas and people that drink just all day, every day.
Right.
I feel like that percentage is shrinking.
Yeah, but see, even with that said, it's because these companies and their marketing, they've pushed other things onto people, which
Mm,
I'm guilty, like energy drinks, right, which are not
right.
the healthiest.
Yeah.
Um, fruit juices, or now they have these sugar-free sodas, and you can literally, if you want to go out and have a drink, and you're like, oh, I'm trying to be healthy. Well, now you got hard seltzers, and you have all these other. It's just when it comes to fitness, you have to have a hard line of what you're willing to and what you're not, because as everything evolves, like in the examples you just give, these things aren't really going away. They're just not being marketed the same way, because now
Or
they
they're
have these other
or they're
options.
just there's another option that seems like a better health option, right? Like
Yeah,
instead of, yeah, hey, quit cigarettes but start vaping. And then, what,
there you go.
quit
Exactly,
sodas, and
exactly,
now,
bro.
drink this
Hmm.
diet soda. And
Yeah.
you could argue about the health
Well,
benefits of diet soda.
it's like smoking weed, right?
Mhm.
So a big turnoff, like, I mean, from this, I don't want to say 70s, maybe mid 80s to the early 2000s, it was villainized, right? One of the big things was, oh, the smell, the way it gets on your hands. So now they create, THC vapes. They have gummies available to you.
Mm.
That is literally the same thing when it comes to food, you know?
Yeah.
Like oh, you have a gluten-free bread, but there's chemical, there's just a bunch of shit in there. You have to educate yourself. You have to read the labels. At the end of the day, you have to take the time and read labels.
I would say when it comes to labels, and like when you mentioned gluten-free bread, I mean, the first thing I think about is like the impossible meats, and then you got the gluten-free. Like if you're trying to cut out carbs, just cut out the source, right? Just if you're trying to cut down on carbs, don't eat carbs or carb substitute. If you're trying to quote unquote live a humane lifestyle and you're trying to cut out meat, then don't go to the meat substitute.
Yeah.
At least not from a health perspective, because from someone that has a culinary arts degree and experience, I'm very aware of ingredients. I've worked in some very progressive kitchens where we use molecular gastronomies, where you use the ingredients that you might not be able to pronounce on the back of an ingredients list. But you know what? I've used agar, and guar gum, and xanthan gum. We've used those in kitchens, and they have very unique properties, and a lot of them are derived from different plants that you could say is like agar is a dried seaweed, right? It's a powder. It's dried seaweed powder, bleached. And so it's a white powder, but it has the same effect of like using a thickening agent like cornstarch or flour. But you can use just a very small amount. And you think of seaweed, it's kind of like gelatinous and thick. So you just imagine you add liquid seaweed or powdered seaweed to a sauce, it'll thicken it up. And it sounds fine, but humans aren't designed to eat seaweed. Like we don't like swim in the ocean and chew on seaweed.
Even with that said, it's even the process of how it's broken down to get to that consistency or even texture to where now you're able to use it as a flavor or a bonding agent for a meal. That right there creates a whole nother issue. I mean, you're from you're Portuguese, right?
Yes.
When you go to Portugal, is there even the word organic? Do they even use that word out there?
No.
Only here in the United States do they use that word, and that's for these companies, to make money, which is crazy because if anybody's ever seen how chicken McNuggets are made, go on YouTube. Bro, it looks like yogurt.
Disgusting.
That is so true.
It's horrible, right?
Yeah.
And in the United States, it's okay to sell that to people. And it blows my mind because it's like, I don't want to get too political, but it's like, why is it this country doesn't care about the shit that they're approving to put into us? Or no wonder we are one of the most obese countries in the entire world.
Yeah.
It's because our government's okay with that. And it's like the FDA, man, okay. Without going there, there's a lot of misguided information out there, and I think
healthy, the heart healthy stamp.
Oh,
all these
it's just so
on
full
the
of
sugary
shit.
cereals. Like,
so if there's an ingredient that provides some type of heart health, they're going to label that.
That's even.
But then if you continue to read the ingredients, there are other ingredients in there that do the complete opposite. But as a marketing tool, when you walk into supermarkets, right? Have you ever noticed like the super fruity ass cereals, Fruity Pebbles, all that? It's down at the lower level, right? And talk about marketing tools. They do that so that kids see those kind of things because now it's on their level, right? And they harass their parents. Mom, buy me this, Fruity Pebbles, this. These cereals are horrible.
I remember getting.
Although I could get down on a bowl of Fruity Pebbles. That shit is
it is good. I mean, it's compacted. It's compacted pure energy. Right? You have and it's in a form that gets instantly transmitted and digested into straight energy, right? You got the carbohydrate, it's processed, it's milled, it's broken down, bleached, enriched flour, whatever it is. Then it's got pure sugar sprayed on top, and then artificial color, whatever it is. And so the second you consume it, it's boom, it's instantaneous. Yeah. It's like an energy drink for a kid, right?
When you have kids, right?
Yeah.
What happens, especially when they were younger and it's 8 o'clock, their bedtime's at 8:30, and you decided to give them a sugary snack. Yeah. These little savages are up till 10 o'clock running around. freaking
Here's
out.
the interesting thing is that in nature, things don't get that sweet. And this is something I realized. So things don't get as sweet as they do by on the manufacturing side. So I cut out sugar, right? And so, or at least processed sugar. I still enjoy things that are sweet or whatever. I make my own simple syrup.
Okay.
It's like a Jamaican cane sugar. I use Demerara, which is a sugar that they use in an old fashioned, which we're drinking here. I don't know why we're doing a health show and drinking old fashions, but you know what? Why not? I work pretty hard throughout the week. So I can enjoy an old fashioned.
Hey,
but,
you know, there is nothing wrong if you have a drink.
Yeah.
It's when you're sitting there constantly, and I could give you the science on it of why, if you are somebody out there who's about trying to build a physique, alcohol is not necessarily the greatest thing if you don't have a balance. That's why you see people
Moderation.
who are, if you see people who are going into a competition, there is zero room for alcohol, you know, because the enzymes that your body is trying to break down the alcohol, that's what's being...
It's a poison.
But it's being pushed to the side when you're working out, and it's your enzymes are not breaking down the protein properly because now it's got to take care of the alcohol.
It's a poison. It's a toxin. It's not debatable, right?
I want there.
Yeah,
I want there. And I like my bourbons too, so that kind of sucks.
It's a poison. It's a toxin. It's not even debatable. And so I would, you know, it's like anything in moderation.
Yeah.
I do love a cigar. At the same time, I wouldn't, you know, I don't think anything in moderation. I wouldn't smoke 5 cigars a day. That's, you know, a health negative over time. But with moderation, I think it is fine. And that's just kind of life in general. That's how you succeed. But
I agree. I think you should set yourself up to be able to appreciate and enjoy something like that. You know, you should put the work in and not make it a ritual. Like, especially if you're not, like, if your ass sitting on the couch all day, you go 8 hours to your job, you come home and you're like, I deserve a drink. Like, why the fuck do you deserve a drink, bro? Like, you're supposed to be working a job. Like, how do you pay your bills and take care of your family? Like, it's a joke, you know? Like, when talking about being healthy, there's so many levels. I mean, obviously, you know, taking care of your physical part.
I think there's 2 buckets, and you were kind of alluding that. So there's 2 buckets. So I think for the viewer here, you know, you're in probably 2 camps. One is that you're dramatically out of shape, or you just have like no program. You're kind of eating as you wish, and then there's people that are doing okay, and you know what, they're probably, they know they should do better, and so I think there's 2 completely different paths there, right? I like, we opened up, I'm big on water, and you know, like, hey, what are you consuming? Like, but if you're just drinking soda and snacks, like, what kind of water you're drinking doesn't make 0 difference. Like,
unless
organic versus
water, because they're getting sued right now.
If you're like eating fast food all day, and I'm gonna sit here and be like, hey, buy those organic carrots instead of the regular ones, like, this does not partake to you. So, and it's the same like if someone's gonna go to work out and they're trying to figure out exactly how to do the workout, and they're like asking someone else. They haven't been in the gym in 4 years, or they never went, or maybe they gone like, you know, once a year.
Don't talk about Dave like that. He can hear us.
Yeah. What's up, Dave? So, you know, somebody that just doesn't work out at all. They're asking you questions about the perfect form and like curling. You're like, bro, just get in the gym. Just start working out. Like, you're sitting here trying to figure out exactly what is the best.
You just hit me with a, like, okay, look, everybody, right? Back when I started working out, we didn't have smartphones. We had to do everything by a fucking book. You guys have smartphones. Stop being dummies.
Also,
get information.
Yeah, I also had to like just, you know what helped me a lot was working out with other people, right? But either way, not to get too sidetracked, you're not worried about the little small minutes and how many reps should I do for how many sets, and you know what muscle group should I just get in the damn gym and start working out, right? Get a routine going. You're nowhere. You need to get something going. And it's the same for somebody that's, you know, morbidly obese, or, you know, needs to drop a ton of weight. Like, you know what? Let's not worry about the little finite, minute, you know, small details. Just start eating, just scrap the poison, which is obviously fast food and the super processed items and sugary cereals, your sodas, and then just start focusing on perhaps on caloric intake, right? I think at the end of the day, caloric intake for someone trying to lose weight is probably the best.
Significant.
Yeah, I think that's probably the most important thing. Caloric intake, set a bar. You know, you don't have to count every single calorie, but just be like, hey, like, you know what? Like, let me just at least be aware. 1,000 calories here, 500 calories here.
And equally as important, don't compare yourself to other people. Like, your body's your body. Like, somebody like me, you know, if my goal is to lose some weight, and then you have somebody who is a lot heavier than I am, guaranteed, even if we set the same weight goal, like, oh, I want to lose 15 pounds, that person is going to lose 15 pounds a lot quicker than me.
What a lot of people don't do, and I would highly recommend, is take note of what you're already consuming. You know, take a journal. Don't change anything. Write down a full week or maybe 2 weeks of everything you eat, and then just add up the calories and say, hey, on a daily basis, I'm consuming 3,800 calories.
Right.
Now, if I want to lose weight, just go below that number. Not 3,700, not 36, but just say, hey, look, I want to lose some weight. I'm eating about 3,800 calories a day. Let me drop it down to 2,400. Yep. And I think that's now. And if you're eating 5,600, and you know it's all, you know, buy donuts or whatever it is, or 6,700 calories, then just significantly reduce that. And I think that's a great goal if your end mission is to simply cut down weight, which I think that's a majority of people's problem. Yeah. And then you can, you know, I think working out, that's a separate bucket. I think that's equally as, or I don't know if I say equally as far. I think, like I was saying, I think diet is the most important, because without that foundation, working out doesn't generate the returns you want. But if you, as long as you got a somewhat basic like diet, then you throw in the working out, and it's
you know what worked for me, guys. Before I went to college, I needed to lose like 40 pounds. I literally just stopped eating after 6 p.m. I dropped 40 pounds in like 6 weeks.
Yeah, I think that's simply. I don't think it's because of the time, in my personal opinion. I think it's more or less you cut down caloric intake, right? You probably
absolutely.
You're probably doing that. You were probably adding on, just on average every night, you were probably eating 800 calories if it was some snack or something like that. And so you just remove that from the caloric intake.
But that right there, just the principle alone is solid. But everybody has a different schedule each day. So, you know, some people at 6 p.m. they got to eat. You know what I'm saying?
I think it's the same with intermittent fasting. It's that people are cutting down calories because they're taking long chunks of the day not eating.
Absolutely. But here's also the thing about a lot of these fads, like keto. I won't say keto is a fad because it's proven. These diets are not sustainable, right? You do them for a certain amount of time and you get results. But at the end, what's your opinion? Well, you have to still have a backup plan if you go into these kind of diets or fasting, intermittent fasting, keto. Like, you can't. That's not a lifestyle. You know, if you have fitness goals, you have to have, again, a plan. And in the kitchen, you have to be prepared when you're done with keto, right? Which is there's vitamins that your body's not getting. When you're on a diet like that, you have to be able to pivot afterwards and have something that's balanced.
I think,
you know?
I think keto is the only diet that I think is, I guess you could say, a sustainable. I don't think you should do keto 100% of the time, but there is a targeted time to use keto. And the reason I say that is because I look at everything from the lens of prior to in the Industrial Revolution, common society. I look back at, like, what did we survive on as a human? How did our species, evolve to the point that we're at now? And so I always look back at our historical diet. Now, I know a lot of people look at paleo. I'm not a big paleo guy,
right?
But there's truth to it, in the same way that there's truth to keto. So for me, I look at diet like, okay, whole foods, because in our ancestral days, where there was no milling of grains and things of that nature. So the human diet was pretty basic. It was, you eat meat, and then during the summertime, fruit would ripen, and then you would consume sugar and carbohydrates in that point in time. But during the dead of winter and the early part of the year, there was just never any fruit growing, right? You look at January, what are you going to pick? There's nothing to eat.
Right.
So your body naturally shifts over to ketosis. And it's just a natural part. And bears do it too. Like mammals are designed to go through ketosis. So a bear will eat a lot of carbohydrates and sweets and honey and things of that nature, put on a lot of weight. And then during the winter months, it will go through ketosis, eat nothing but meat, and then burn through the fat it's stored. And so it's a natural process. And so I don't think that like storing fat, people think about it as such a negative. It just gets out of control.
Well, when you're on a keto diet, like if I was on a diet and it was about cutting calories and stuff like that, there's a part of the day, especially, a lot of people I know that do competitions and stuff like that. When you're really low on a deficit, calorically, you walk around in this fog, right? When somebody's doing a keto diet, the fats somehow, there's a secretion or something from the amount of fats that kind of keep your mind going, where you don't feel so depleted, right? And it's just like you said, seasonal, right?
Yeah.
Like if you were going back to the back in the days where part of the year was paleo, part of the year turned out to be like keto-esque or whatever, right? Like, again, this is a seasonal thing. It's not meant to be a complete lifestyle change. I had a friend, right, who turned vegan, right, for heart reasons, right? Beforehand, he was in pretty good shape for a gentleman, of our age. And once he went vegan, he lost a ton of weight, right?
I don't know very many vegans that are in shape. Now, there are a lot of exceptions.
But here, right.
But
exactly.
I would say majority, 95% of vegans, not the healthiest looking people.
And that's why education's so important, because when I told him, I said, look, man, I said, I'm happy that your heart's doing good, but the rest of your body's kind of decaying on you. You're not getting enough nutrients. You're not getting enough protein in this diet that you're eating. And in the conversation, I'm finding out he's not even eating enough meals during the day to maintain any type of muscle.
Yeah.
Right? And a lot of people don't know that when you start losing skeletal muscle, that's creating all kinds of other issues. I mean, down the line, dementia, the percentage rate raises to 60%.
I think your skeletal muscle is probably it's
some of the most important.
It's the foundation of
absolutely.
Like if you look at a house and you say like, hey, these 2x4s are rotted. There's termites in there. It's here's a support seam is gonna. That's literally your bones. Your bones. If you were to take a house and then X-ray it, the bones are the support system.
Yeah.
And if that one falls apart, everything falls apart. And you look at a skeletal system, it's the same thing. Yeah. Same foundation, and so I mean that's why I think calcium and vitamin D is so important.
But even with that said, his comeback to me was, but I know a lot of vegan bodybuilders and da-da-da. I followed them on Instagram, and I told him, I said, I need you to reach out to these people and find out how many calories a day they're eating and where they're getting their sources of food from. I said, do you think for a moment, just because you're vegan, you're on that guy's level? And he was like, so it's like the information.
People love to always look at the exception to the rule.
Yeah, but that's not their journey, though.
I know, but here's the thing: like even the exception to the rule doesn't make it make it true. And so you can sit here and someone can say that, and people say it all the time when they want to like lie to themselves. Essentially, is what you're doing when you want to lie to yourself. Or maybe you've been so brainwashed that you believe it, but most of the time people are trying to lie to themselves. It's the same as like saying like, hey, okay, you can speed. I know a guy, he drives 120 miles an hour every day home from work, texting on the phone. Or I know this guy, he drinks every night at the bar and he goes home. He's never got a DUI. The guy drives 120, never gets in a car accident. Like there's always exceptions. But then if you take 100 people and you send them off from the bar wasted drunk, 30% of them are going to crash or get a DUI. And the same thing with the other guy. And so it's the same mentality. People just love lying to themselves, bro.
Yeah, and the sad part, You can lie to everybody, but you can't fucking lie to yourself.
Oh, yeah,
Right? Like yesterday, right? I was like, yeah, I'm not gonna have no snacks. I wound up eating 2 cookies. Right? And I knew I shouldn't have,
Why don't you bring no cookies in here,
nah, bro. No. But I accept the fact that I did it, and I'm not gonna make a fucking excuse for it. I'm not gonna go around perpetrating in front of other people that especially right now, that I'm on my grind the way I would if I wasn't, getting ready to have a surgery and stuff like that.
There's
right?
nothing wrong with a little slip up, though.
No, again, but we're talking about. I think we keep going back in this particular episode that everything in balance, right?
Moderation, yeah.
Everything in balance. You want to have a cocktail. That's not a 7-day-a-week thing. Like you pick a day, you have 1 or 2 drinks, you enjoy it. You start drinking to the point where 2 or 3 drinks no longer gives you a buzz. That's a clear fucking sign that you are overdoing it, right? If you're over here having a cookie too many times during the week, and then you're hopping on the scale and you're like, oh my God, I'm working out, I'm meal prepping. Why am I not losing weight? Well, guess what? You're out of balance. You're taking you're taking one thing to an extreme. So where's your balance? It's like if we're
okay to be out of balance with certain things. I'll say this.
So give me an example. How so?
Okay, if something's not detrimental to your well-being or your health, let's just say like I'm a workaholic.
Right.
People like my balance is way out of sync. Right? I work way more than a traditional person, right? Or the normal person. And I hear all the time, like, bro, you're working too hard, man. You need to take some days off. You can't do that, man. I hear it at the gym sometimes. You know what? Like, I have very busy schedule, so I just schedule myself 7 days a week at the gym, no days off. But the reality is life happens, and I end up taking days off anyways. And but at the end of the day, like those aren't necessarily negative to me.
But you have a goal in mind. That's a whole different.
But it's
you know what I mean.
But could you make an argument that it's bad to work aggressively or work hard? Now I could point out people that are unsuccessful, and they could be like, you know what? It is bad to work that hard because I worked so hard, I didn't see my family, and then we got a divorce. And like, there's always people that will nitpick it. But I think just in a general sense, and I don't mean. And I guess you could say there's certain extremes. Like if I worked 3 jobs, and I just literally slept, and then I did have a family or whatever it is, I guess you could make that argument. But from my perspective, like working on your goals, as you mentioned, like working out, working on a job, like I feel like I'm gonna drop unconditional love for those that are the closest to me, right? For my family, like I don't think I can love people too much,
right?
You know what I mean? I don't think I can be like too much. Maybe I'm dating somebody, and then she's all like, "Stop." I guess that could be a thing, but for things that are, I guess, a net positive, like we were talking about last week, there's certain net positives and net negatives. I think it's okay to swing it dramatically, and things that
I'm going to agree with you on that. I think when you have a goal and you have something you're striving for, you have to shift into a different gear. Again, if we're talking about working out, then you see all these competitors and stuff like that. I've watched my wife do this, right? And when she elevated to that next, okay, we're getting into peak week, the amount of drive and consistency and just every single day going to the gym 2 times, sometimes 3 times, because she needed posing, she needed a meeting with her coach. Like, there's nothing wrong with that when you have a goal. But again, the overall picture, the idea is to have a balance in life. So if you have to make a sacrifice here and work your ass off to get to here, then when you do get to here, you got to take some time. Like, recovery is one of the biggest things in a health regimen.
It's okay.
Especially as you get older.
I was going to say, it's okay to like go off balance for time periods. I think that's kind of weird, for certain periods of time. Like, you know what, if I have something I'm trying to get, like say I'm launching a new business, or I've made a new connection or a new friend, or I got a new hobby I'm really trying to, or a new skill I'm trying to get at, then at that point, it might be okay for me to just go all in and disappear, right? And you see it like, hey, like, you know what? I'm going to travel for work.
Right.
You know what? I'm going out to sea, or I'm being, I'm going to war, or whatever it is. Sometimes you just got to leave the house, and you got to go out there and get it. And then you come back. And then it's time for rest. And kind of like we talked about, like, hey, there's different seasons. I think there's also different seasons for activity as well.
Right.
And, there are few exceptions, but I think even the most successful business people will grind, work hard, build a business, and then, hey, you know what? Things start rolling on their own. They might fall back a little bit, empower other people to fill their shoes for. I think that's also a net benefit.
I think when we get to those kind of subjects, then I think mental health is the question. Because if you're constantly working 16, 17-hour days, are you taking time? Are you taking time to clear space up here and here?
I'm doing 16,
right.
17 hours.
So sometimes you need maybe recommendation. I do it, and I do it literally almost every day. I do meditation, right?
See, I don't.
And I really
should, though. I mean, I know it's
beneficial. Not. Surprisingly, it's not an easy thing, especially when you're a go-getter. Like you probably have 1,000 thoughts going through your head and don't know how to just shut the fuck up.
I wish I could just have a GoPro on my head, or someone could just follow me on one of my get it days, because it is just literally nonstop from the second my eyeballs pop open till I go to sleep. It's every minute is accounted for. I mean, yesterday I stopped by a poke restaurant, and the lady behind the counter had this long ticket, like 3 bowls in front of her. This place is always dead, by the way. There's never anybody in there. And only person that walked in, she looks up at me, and she's just like, hey, looks down at her ticket, looks at the bowls, and she said, give me a moment. I'll be with you in a few. And I looked at her, and I was just like, and then she started grabbing the edamame beans. Anyways, I was like, this is going to take like 10 minutes. And like, first of all, why are you doing the order? The person's not even here. It's an Uber Eats pickup. Like, I'm standing here, like, ready. Like, this person's not even. Anyway, that's a separate story. But anyways, you're burning 10 minutes of my day. I don't even have time for that. Like, I gotta go. Like, I got like 5 more things I'm trying to do in the next hour. So anyways, I just scram. I pop open a couple cans of salmon to make a sandwich real quick. I do. But the thing is that, my day is so jam packed. I mean, the second I wake up, it is aggressive. Now, for me, what has worked for me is I've noticed that supplementing with vitamins has been extremely beneficial, enormously beneficial. And I've always been someone I've always taken a multivitamin. I've always taken like a vitamin C. And you know what? I almost did that just because I thought that was a thing to do.
Right.
And then I started really like targeting my vitamins, my minerals, and kind of just understanding like what am I consuming. And from that point, my energy is transformed tremendously. And I'm at a position now with my personal health that I wake up and I have so much energy. It's like I drink energy drinks throughout the entire day. And I think it's because of one, my overall diet. I do also partake in a lot of physical activity, particularly lifting at the gym, but water, whole foods, and then vitamins. Man, I'm telling you, I will burn laps around other people.
Right.
I work a nighttime job. I'll be at a restaurant. I will gas anybody in there all day, and then I'll get home. I'll do 5 other things. Go to bed. Wake up. Boom. I'm ready to go. And vitamins, I think it's such a cheat code, because your body out here, when you're trying to search and you're trying to find out what should I eat, if you nail the base core, right? Your protein, your carbohydrates, you nail like what your body needs as far as substance. Then you just unload vitamins on it. Not anything like crazy, and I'm not taking like take 10 pills of vitamin C or anything, but you start picking out the right vitamins. And then I'll tell you, brother, the thing that really changed my perspective was quality vitamins. I used to do the Nature's Bounty, whatever it is, like the $4.99 Walmart bull crap. And what I realized when I realized that there was a difference was when you take a vitamin and then 2 hours later you pee, it's like brown, yellow, or whatever it is. When I started taking quality vitamins, and taking them at the right times, my pee looks normal.
Mhm.
And you know, like when you're taking vitamins and your color, your urine changes, it's because you're pissing out everything, right?
Well,
And
I
so
think
the right absorption of the right.
Mhm.
And so that was my takeaway. But
Yeah.
I noticed immediately. I think magnesium was the biggest, the one I noticed the most.
Right.
Was a magnesium. It's like this. I take some magnesium. It's like 7 different magnesiums
Mhm.
called bio. It's breakthrough magnesium.
Mhm.
Either way, it's like 7 different magnesiums. That one I've seen the most noticeable one.
Right.
But anyways, that's my vitamin rant.
Mhm.
I know you kind of been nodding your head here. You got a little smirk on your face.
No,
You like vitamin?
I'm listening to everything you're saying, and it's the journey.
Yeah.
You're going through a journey right now. Everything's evolving. Period. As we get older, so it's like what works today is not necessarily going to translate in the next 10 years. You might
Yeah.
have to readjust a lot of things. Like you're talking about going to the gym 7 days a week, right? As we get older, it's not necessarily the best thing, and it's because you're not giving your body enough time to recuperate, right?
Yeah.
Recover. And I didn't learn that until I started getting banged up, like with a ton of different injuries. And I was somebody that would train 7 days a week, and I'd be there for two hours plus, right? And the biggest I ever was. I mean, I'm naturally a very slim guy, right? And I at one point I was like 220, right? And it just didn't look right on me. And my body always hurt me. I'd go to work, and by the end of the shift, my back would be in pain because I put in my 40s, I was putting in a couple of hours before the gym and then going to work and working 8-9 hours. And by the time I'd get home, I'd be wrecked. And I would force myself. I'd pop up in the morning, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and pop out of bed, and I would do it all over again. And then by the time my days off came, I was just annihilated. And when
you think it could have like do you think maybe you might have been in hindsight like maybe nutrient deficient or something? Or
no, my diets were on point. It's just again, like when you're younger, you can do stuff like that. You recover a lot better, right? That's why it's as you get older, it's not a bad thing to explore the idea of TRT, because there's no way in your later years or in your mid 40s or even higher that you can do 5-6 days a week and be 100% anabolic free and recover quick enough to where you're now continue to get gains. It's almost impossible. Your diets, yeah, sure, you can eat enough food, but again, if you're not one of those people who are already on a IFBB level where you're getting paid to do this for a living and you're doing it more because this is your lifestyle, it's just not going to happen.
I don't know, man. I think with supplementation and vitamins. And also just being very aware of what you're consuming. I think that your body naturally can heal itself even in the later stages in life.
You're saying you can do 7 days a week in the gym.
Your performance is going to be degraded over time. That's not in question. But I do think that what people's perception is that, hey, I'm 40 years old, I can't do this anymore. I think that's misguided as far as like certain people. People are like, hey, like don't play basketball at 45.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like go out and shoot hoops. Are you going to be at NBA level? No, of course not.
Right.
And I do think that I just the reason the only pushback I have is that there's no cliff is my kind of explanation. I don't think that you get to a certain age or a certain age group and it's just a cliff and everything has to dramatically change. I think it is a degradation over time. I think that as you get closer to 80 years old, where 80 years old or 90 years old would be kind of the lower end of the hill or the slope or the mountain or whatever it is, there is no cliff in my opinion. Okay. And so I think that you can prolong these events. And I think that through just like quality supplementation, I think it will do massive numbers on you. And what I'm saying is that Like I've done vitamins, and
Robin,
I'm telling you,
I love you, and this is gonna be the first episode where we're gonna agree to disagree.
okay,
Right? If you are putting 7 days a week into the gym and you are really, really training, like
yeah,
you are really every single set you're crushing it. You're going for the gold. You can't. When you get older,
I agree.
supplements and vitamins will not take you to that level. And there's science on it. There is actual science, and we're talking not just one study. There's thousands, hundreds of thousands of studies.
I agree that
You know?
you're not going to be
Mhm.
able to keep the same weight and keep that same performance
But
that you
what you're
have
saying
in your
is the
25
the vitamin-
to 20 to 45. But what I'm saying is that people sometimes feel like, hey, I can't do this anymore.
Mhm.
I'm too old. And what
No,
I'm saying
but-
is that I think that a lot
yeah.
of people are I think the foundation of that mentality
Mhm.
is that there's a lot of people on this planet that are nutrient deficient,
Right.
that are vitamin deficient, that are
Mhm.
mineral deficient, and they attribute the reactions to that or their body having deficiencies and them essentially equating to not getting performance out of, say, the gym
Mhm.
or in life or their physical appearance, and they or their personal health. Just say like they have high cholesterol or whatever it is. I think a lot of people just easily attribute that to age, to genetics, and I think that what is back to the very first thing I said is that we are what you eat.
Mhm.
And I think that if you have ailments in your body, a lot of the times it's because you're missing key ingredients.
Oh yeah.
And a lot of it comes because we eat processed foods that strip key ingredients out, that are grown in soils that are mineral deficient. And in my perspective, it's available. You if you get a
See,
quality, you
that
get a
right there,
quality, you can fill the
I agree
gaps.
with you on that. I agree with you on that. But again, when it comes to age, or just in general, we've been talking or harping on balance, right?
Yeah.
So when you get to a certain age, you cannot train like you did in your 20s. You just can't. Your priorities shift. Your recovery becomes more of the priority. 3-4 days in the gym of lifting, you will gain more muscle if you're also taking time to really prioritize more so the diet part, the nutrition part.
Yeah.
Because number one, your metabolism is not working like it did in the 20s, right? You're not
Yeah.
recovering like you did in your 20s. So as you get older, supplementation, vitamins, yeah, I agree with you 100%. It is a necessity. But also at the same time, your priorities shift. It's like relationships, like when you're dating and then you meet your wife, like you don't treat your wife like you did the girl that you met and you had some fun with, right? Like
Yeah.
you got to put your wife on a pedestal to a degree, right? It's like in business, like when you first get a job and you're young and you're in your 20s, you're like, man, fuck this job. I don't need this shit. And now all of a sudden, you're married, you got kids, you got a house. You don't have the luxury of being like, man, fuck this job, I'm out. No,
but at the same time, people say like they'll be later in the stage and be like, oh man, you know what? Work sucks. I didn't get by in my career.
Mm-hmm.
It's because this manager hates me, or you know what? This job doesn't offer
that's
this.
a whole nother issue.
No, but what I'm saying is that people will use that
You're
as a
cuddle.
crutch.
Give me this shit.
No, people will use it as a crutch. That's my whole point. Is that you'll use. And even sometimes it's out of negligence. They'll say, "Hey, I'm too old to start a new career. I'm too old to start a
internal
business.
right there.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
too old to do this." Right? That mentality, it's human nature, right?
Absolutely.
And that same mentality. My whole point is that same mentality also is attributed to your physical health.
Mhm.
And people will simply say, like, "Hey, I'm just older. I'm supposed to be fat." You know what? People get fatter when they're older. I'm older. I can't build muscle.
You nailed
I'm
it when
older.
you said mentality. That's a weak person's mentality. right
I
there.
don't disagree with what you're
Right.
saying. Your performance drops over time.
Mhm.
You know, 25-year-old Mike Tyson versus 55-year-old Mike Tyson.
Well, we seen him fight Jake Paul. That shit did not look good.
It's
you know?
like it doesn't matter. Like, At
Right.
the end of the day, peak performance is going to come between the ages of like 22
Mhm.
and 36, right? That's your peak performance is going to be there.
Yeah.
That's just where you're just running at optimal performance. There's no denying that. But to think that everything just falls apart when you're 45 is kind of that's my whole point.
It's a shit mentality.
Yeah, it's there's a lot of external factors,
Mm-hmm.
and I just kind of go back to the fundamental building blocks of a person, a human, your human biome, everything about you, how you operate is essentially the building blocks of life, which is what you consume. And we have nutrient deficient foods, and there's just tons of vitamins and supplements that can fill the gaps.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just saying that from my perspective, I have seen the benefits firsthand. Hey, I've done these vitamins. I've done this vitamin regimen.
Mm-hmm.
I'm focusing on my water quality, my food quality. And you know what? I got more energy now. I used to wake up and the first thing I needed was coffee, bro. I needed my coffee, man. I needed it, and I would do double shot every morning. Now, at this point, I still drink my coffee, but I don't even usually drink the whole thing. I drink half of it, a third of it, a quarter of it. And I don't even drink the whole thing. Also, a lot of it is probably just drinking a massive amount of fluids in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
I drink probably a gallon of water right when I first wake up.
Right.
But yeah, that was been like my biggest takeaway was just my performance and energy when I started really focusing on what I was consuming.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, that was huge. You know, I maybe I go a little too far. I filter my own water. I got like my water's a big one. I know I got real quick. I just want to just explain to you how freaking loony I am on water here. And I got a whole house water filtration, water softener from a whole house.
Mm-hmm.
The two of those work in tandem. Then I got reverse osmosis. I add minerals back into my water. Yeah, so that's my water regimen alone there. And then, you know, I don't kind of stay away from plastics. We have my glass bottles.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I do my own water and refill my bottles here. And so that, and then my vitamins, bro, it's been a game changer.
So you've had a health scare, and
almost died, bro.
Right, to a degree, right?
Yeah, my intestines ruptured.
So this
is
what prompted you to make changes, right? So, and I guess my example, because I think everything you're doing, even the neurotic side of your water regimen and all that, I think everything you're doing is awesome. Like there's nothing negative to say about that. Do you think right now the regimen you have that's working for you today, you think as you get older that there will be adjustments?
100%. I adjust.
That is my point of as you get older, right? You have to, and it's not the amount of effort you're putting into the fitness game or the fitness plan. It's the adjustments to what's going to make you equally as successful. There's a podcast that LeBron James is doing right now with Steve Nash. He used to do it with JJ Redick. I think season 2, episode 2, he talks about his regimen on how he trains on practice days, game days, his off time as soon as the season ends.
How old is LeBron right now?
He's 40, 41, something like that. And he is the prime example of what it's like. However, he also is in a career that all these tools, from massage to the best personal trainers, physical therapists, he has it all at hand. But he's the one that makes the choices on what he's going to do. Mm-hmm. And part of it, he goes, you know, as I've gotten older, he goes, I already know I have the tools to play the game. So my preparation now goes a lot more on the recovery side, because at my age, that's what's going to keep me going, making sure I get the rest, making sure I'm doing the massages and, you know, I forget exactly what it's called, but it's like where you put these like wraps around your legs and they vibrate to give you circulation, to get the circulation going, because at a certain age, it just doesn't flow quite the same like when you're younger. And I think from that perspective, he nailed it, you know? And this is a triple plus athlete. This guy spends, hundreds of thousands of dollars outside of what the LA Lakers can offer him. He's still spending money on improving his body so he can function at the level he's at. And I think in your case, right, where you're working 16, like people are just like, yo, dude, this dude never fucking stops, right? You are functioning at a level, but you're also taking the time to give back to your body. And I think what people need to know out there is balance goes a lot further than just what you see on videos or TV or you read in a magazine or you see one of your homies do. Education and growing, continuing education when it comes to your physical fitness, your mental health, it is never changing. It's always evolving. You always have to be out there chasing it. Like you're into video production, right? 10 years from now, do you think the stuff you use for your business is going to be as relevant as all the new shit they're going to bring out? And knowing you, you're going to be right there knowing all that shit as soon as it comes out. Because that's just who you are. You're somebody who's going to continue to chase that knowledge. When it comes to physical fitness and the education side of it, man, you really got to take the time to invest because you can't do the things you used to do when you were younger. And you sure as fuck can't do the things when you're younger that you could do when you're older. Knowledge is everything. So I don't think that either one of us is giving a bad message or not explaining it right. I think we both have amazing perspectives. And you know, the name of the podcast, Between Mistakes, like trial and error. Like, you know, your intestines almost gave you had to go through some shit to get to where you're at. And that's the whole purpose, right? Like to be able to just explain like, well, this is what I did wrong. Yeah. I learned from it. And then I actually want and even learn more. So I didn't repeat the same mistakes. There's really no right or wrong except stop stuffing your fucking face and get to the gym and get an idea of what's gonna be a positive change. Because not everybody needs a six-pack to be healthy. Not everybody needs to be on stage. You know, it's really just about what's gonna be productive for you and give you some quality of life as you get older. How many people do you know that are obese? They're having their knees replaced, their hips replaced. And these are relatively 40, 50, 60-year-old people, right? Well, you want to know what? You knew you were living unhealthy. You knew this was becoming an issue, and you never addressed it. You never want to sort out the knowledge to say, okay, this is what's going to take me out of diabetes, out of having to do this replacement. I'm carrying too much weight. I should be walking around at 180. Why am I walking around at 270?
Well, it's people's comfortability with short term, right? You're okay with little small losses, right? You can say, hey, you know what? I'm going to eat this today, or hey, I'm not going to work out today. And then cumulatively, just over your lifetime, it ends up killing you. And I think that's kind of the big thing is that it doesn't bother you today, right? It doesn't, you know, you eat that fast food today, it doesn't bother you. Smoke that cigarette today, it's not going to kill you. You drink that beer today, it's not going to take you down. But if you do it every day and that is your lifestyle, it will take you out.
Absolutely.
And if it doesn't, one of the other things that you're probably fucking up on will take you out. I don't know anybody that smokes a cigarette every day that doesn't, that their life is just operating 100% and they have one thing, right? I don't know a single person like that.
Yeah.
And so if that shit don't take you down, some other dumb shit you're doing will take you down. Like sometimes you just got to like, you know what? I got to clean all this up. This is bad. This is bad. I got to trim this. I got to do this. And so at the end of the day, like, I think that the thing that people need to do is just say like, what do I need to do to better myself? And just start cutting one by one by one.
I agree with you 1,000%.
Whether it's vitamins,
it's just like
gym,
see, what you said right there, you know, one by one by one. If you are one of those people that struggle with tackling your task, then set yourself a goal, like 3 things a day. Like these are non-negotiables, right? Even if you write 6 things down, but 3 of them are non-negotiables. And over the long term, like maybe a month from that time, you add another non-negotiable. I think that's how you get shit done. It's the people that create all these things. Well, this is what I'm going to do. This is what I'm going to do. And then you get stuck with not really having a clear plan because you're only giving this. Number one, you're giving 10%. Number two, you're giving 20%. Number three, you're all over the fucking place. Just choose a couple of things, knock it out, and then set some more goals. Once you have those become habitual and things become routine. I'm one of those people, and Robin now is become one of those people where it's like, I didn't go to the gym with the feeling of I got to get this shit out the way. I had became obsessed about it to the point where I could not wait to get back there the next day and do this new routine or be excited. Okay, today's leg day. And, as a Puerto Rican man, I need leg day multiple times a week, right? And again, I am not a big guy. Like compared to my friends, like some of my friends outside of yourself, I'm the little guy outside of the crew, right? And I walk around about 190. So it's like you can't compare yourself to other people. So when you set your goals up, do it for yourself. That one person that's extremely successful, that smokes a cigarette every single day, that is their journey. If that's what you're using their story as your blueprint of success, you're more than likely going to fail rather than trust in you're doing things and you're being authentic.
That successful person will usually say, this isn't worth it. I don't need this.
Mm-hmm.
I work too hard. Yeah. They'll cut that out. Or, hey, I need to do X, Y, and Z. And so I think what you'll find is that the most driven and successful people out there are willing to make sacrifices, and they notice
their own paths.
They notice the things that they do every day that are not beneficial for them, they can cut it out. Yep. And the things that they should do every day that are beneficial for them, like we said, love, compassion, love for your family, work ethic, putting in the hours, chasing your goals, those things, you do those every day.
Yep.
You cut out the crap every day. And then at the end of the day, you're going to get your end goal.
You're going to be successful at many things in life, and you're going to fail at a bunch of them. I grew up and got picked on, annihilated on for being so skinny, right? I started working out and started taking better care of myself because I got tired of it. I hated the fact that I was so skinny enough where I got tired. It was more hurtful accepting that than going into the gym and hurting because I was confused. I didn't have the education. I was insecure. And this was years of insecurity built up. And I went into the gym and I said, this hurts less than having to look at myself in the mirror and have all these people talk shit. Right?
Yeah.
And it got to a point where the noise got tuned out. I didn't care about people's opinions no more. Now, when I looked in the mirror, it was just me against me. And I think there's a degree of that you can apply to anything in life to be successful. Example, the people that tell you, Rob, you're working too much. You're doing too much. It's like, do you even listen to that noise anymore? Or do you just say, in your mind, you're like, shut the fuck up.
I laugh.
Yeah, because
funny to me.
It's not about them. It's not about their opinions. Yeah. It's you versus you. Like how successful you're going to be.
I also know what their opinions, what their results will be. Like, you're working too much. Yeah. I know exactly what that means. Like, I used to have that opinion. And if you think I'm working too much, you're not working at all. We know what you're going to get.
Yeah.
But,
yeah.
Well, I think that's going to wrap it up. I think we're running out of time here. So, great conversation.
Great conversation, man. Always appreciate it.
Yeah. You going to get some fancy water in your house or what? How's my water taste?
All right, let's see.
Oh, you haven't even tried it yet?
No, I mean, I've been enjoying my bourbon.
This is right from the house here. So
that's some quality H2O right there. Yep.
And I also got my hydrogen bottle too, if you want to mess with that.
Anyway, thank you for the viewers out there listening to us. This our podcast, In Between Mistakes, is the exact example of what we're preaching. Everything's from trial and error. for myself, nobody ever gave me a blueprint or really took the time to explain things. I had to go out there and find it. Robin's had a very similar journey where like everybody tries to tell you, don't do this, don't do that. And it's really a projection of what they're scared of, to fail. And if you value your situation and you want to be a better person, just go out there and fucking chase it. You know, stop lying to yourself, ignore everyone else, set some goals, and go out there and fucking crush it. Because everyone is capable. There is no one in this world who is incapable of making better decisions. So choose your heart.
I had to go on the brink of death, and my intestines literally ruptured, and I had a nasty infection that was uncurable by antibiotics because of antibiotic-resistant infection, which drove me down the path of realizing that, hey, I better watch what the hell I eat if I want to live on this planet longer. So that's why I'm a little bit hyper obsessed with it. It's why it's so important to me and in my life. And so sometimes you got to go down that path as well to realize that, like, hey, this is something I should pay a lot of attention to.
And it doesn't have to be that way. You got to choose your heart. Is it harder walking around with all these self-made diseases you're walking around with? Or is it harder just to get up and make better choices?
Self-made diseases, huh?
Yeah, you get to every single day to make those choices on what the challenge is going to be on a daily basis. You know, make better choices.
There you go. All right. Well, until next week. Thanks for watching.